Are we good?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Brothers of Great Millstone, Charlotte, come with a quick lesson. Morning edification to the Spirit and power. How about Shema Shai? First and foremost, we want to start by giving our praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rechai HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity.
Shalom.
So we're just, touching on the topic of how the beast infrastructure, the mark of the beast, right? Everything that we're seeing is leading up to that ultimate day of temptation, man, right? So every day there's new information in regards to the coming of that implantable device. And as we got in this article from Travel Market Report, it says Apple's digital ID officially rolling out for U.S. travelers. This is just another step in that coming prophecy, man. So you can start in that out.
Okay. This is an article on travelmarketreport.com, and it says Apple's digital ID officially rolling out for U.S. travelers. It says Apple's new digital ID feature, which was quietly delayed after being announced earlier this year, is finally officially rolling out for domestic travelers. Digital ID will allow Apple users to store their driver's license in their Apple Wallet and use it to get through TSA checkpoints at more than 250 airports across the U.S. The ID will only be available for those traveling domestically, and it will not replace a physical passport for international travel.
All right, so these things, what we're seeing right now, are people being conditioned into being more accepting of that digital ID, right? They make it, you can put your driver's license on your phone, right? Then it's going to be, well, instead of using your phone, you can get this implantable device, right? You get that microchip. Now you don't have to carry anything, right? They're already trying to get rid of phones. They're trying to, frame this as some means of convenience, right? When we know it's ultimately a mischief in their hearts, man.
I got a precept. This is Psalms Tahoyam, chapter 144 and verse 11. And it says, "Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood." Reading it again from the top, it says, "Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children." All right, I'm specifically going into Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. It says, "Whose mouth speaketh vanity," and it's a vain thing to ultimately push forth, this NWO enterprise. It's vain because ultimately in the end, it's not going to, he is going to get, his plans off the ground, but it's not going to fully take effect, But it says, "Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood," So ultimately the point, because your right hand is what you rely on, so what he relies on is that wickedness, to where, in the media, he's sensationalizing the people, but then also what we're going into right now, he works in a process called incrementalism, or step-by-step process. So essentially the first step was, all right, the tapping to pay. All right, then it went from tapping to pay to got the wearables, people wearing the wearables. All right, from that, all right, digital ID, the real ID, all right, and so on and so forth, up until the point where it's at the MOTB, the RFID microchip.
Right. Kind of grab Psalm 140. You can start in 1.
God, this is Psalms 140 and 1. It says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war."
Right. So this is them imagining those mischiefs, right? There's no good intentions behind anything you see this man, setting in place, man. Right. Even like they said, it won't replace your physical passport, but eventually your passport is going to be digital. There's going to come a time where they don't accept physical IDs or passports or cash, man. Right. So everything is going to have to be in this digital space. And that's what they're trying to transition the people's minds to be more accepting of, man. Right. That's why they're slow playing it right now. But as they said, they need to accelerate their enterprise, man. right? So now they're pushing these things to the forefront to get the MOTB system off the ground, man. Read down to 5.
Okay. Psalms 140 and verse 3. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Salah. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man, who have purpose to overthrow my goings.
Right. So we're asking the Lord for that covering, man, because we know that we're eventually going to have to separate ourselves from this system. For our refusal to take that implantable device, we're going to be cut off, right? So we're asking the Lord to protect us from this violent man, right? To keep us out of his hand, because he's putting himself in the position where he's going to be persecuting those who think, speak, or act contrary to the what's the word, the thought processes and the infrastructure that he has in place.
Pretty much those that's not with the system.
Exactly.
Psalms 140 and verse 5, it says, the proud have hid a snare for me, and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Salah.
Right. So this whole thing is a trap, man. Right. People are gonna be oh, it can't be that bad, right? They're gonna be in the mindset of what could go wrong. Why wouldn't I be, willing to put my ID into this digital space? Why wouldn't I be willing to put my passport, right? I want to travel. I want to take trips, right? That's the mindset of these people. And even it said this is for domestics. So now when they start setting up these what they call checkpoints and things of that nature, right? They're just going to scan your phone to see who you are, right? The police aren't even going to ask for your license and registration anymore. They're just going to tell you to scan your phone, and they'll know exactly who you are, man, right? And people are going to look at this as some means of safety, right? Like the scripture say, peace and safety, but then sudden destruction shall be upon them, man, because they're slowly giving away, more and more of their rights, man. More and more of their autonomy, more and more of their freedoms, in order for this system to continue on.
Back to the article.
You go back.
All right, it says initially the rollout will be narrow. Apple says it will be available first in beta at TSA checkpoints at the 250 plus airports, though Apple did not identify them in its announcement this week. TMR reached out to Apple for clarification on the airports. Still, the expectation is that its availability will only grow. Digital ID will also provide a way for travelers who have not yet obtained a real ID to fly. Apple says the TSA will accept digital ID in lieu of a real ID compliant driver's license of state ID, but stress that it is not a replacement for a physical passport.
Right.
That's pretty much.
You got.
No, pretty much. It's like when we would see those spider bubble charts. To where essentially everything goes in line, because pretty much everything is funneling down into the MOTB system. Because here they're giving options. They're giving the people the illusions of options as if the people have some type of power. But Esau has the overwhelming majority of people. He's not going to get to the elect.
Okay. Grab 2 Corinthians 2 and 11.
Mm-hmm. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. And it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices.
Right. And the elect have been, blessed with that eye salve, right, to be able to see these things, to understand prophecy, right, to see the devices of this devil being implemented in the earth, right, and not being deceived, man, right. He's not gonna get a one up, right, on the Lord's chosen, right. The watchmen of Israel are ultimately, reporting these things out to the other believers, right, so that we can be prepared for these things to come. We know the direction that he's headed. We know his true what's the word? His true intents behind all these different things, man. Right? He's not doing anything for the good of the people. It's just to help forward his enterprise, man.
All right, I got a precept.
Yeah.
This is Psalms Tahoyam chapter 21 and verse 8. And it says, Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies, thy right hand shall find out all those, find out those that hate thee. And which essentially Esau Edom is essentially being exposed, by this truth. All right. It says, Thou shalt make them as in fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. All right, because essentially, America, Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed, and different various other parts of the world, where Esau Edom is ruling, they're going to be destroyed as well. And it says, Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men, which the scripture say, if they be born, it is for the sword, roughly paraphrasing. But verse 11, the point, for they intended evil against thee, all right, because we're going into the NWO. It says, for they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device, which they are not able to perform, So ultimately, Esau Edom is not going to be able to get his full enterprise off the ground,
Mm-hmm. That's it. What's that? He has bounds that he cannot pass, right? It's going to look as though he's going to accomplish all of his desires, man, right? But, before, as it says again in Job, right, as he's getting ready to fill his belly, right, the Lord is going to overthrow him, man, Get 2 Thessalonians 2 and start in verse 8. So,
2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Right, it's being revealed day in and day out, man. Right, we know who the wicked is. We know who, right, the base man that was set up. Right, we know who Esau Edom is. We know who, is the person in the seat of power in the earth right now, man. Right, who was given, the blessing of the the earth, right, and his blessing of the sword. Right, we see it being in work, day in and day out. Right, and as the Lord continues to have his spirit, coming to the earth, he feels that energy, and that's what's ultimately destroying him, man. Right, it's destroying his mind, it's destroying the strongholds that he's established, it's destroying, the foundations, that he's built this kingdom upon, man.
God running it back, and says, And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders.
Right, and this is going to be what's the word? An example of his power, right? Right, because he's going to be able to, have your information, at hand, immediately, man. Right, more and more people are going to be putting themselves into this system, right, digitally, willingly, right? They're going to be deceived into accepting that device because it's just going to be looked at as another means of convenience. We went to that camp last night, right, where the they're pushing the wearables, right, and the wearables are going to be transitioned into the implantations, man, right. So they're just trying to get people in the mindset, that they lull them to sleep, right, before they ultimately strike.
God, you want to keep going in that?
Read down to 10.
God. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 9, it says, Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness, and them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Right. So those people are going to be deceived, man. Right. Because ultimately your love of the truth, your love of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, is going to have you in the mind frame of denying this beast, man. Right. Of denying this system. You're not going to be in the mind frame of trusting in Esau, right, and finding yourself in that shame and confusion because you see, what's to come. You see him, setting the stage for that ultimate reveal, man. People still can't put two and two together. There's a lot of Israelites out there that are going to be, caught unawares, right? Because they're still thinking that this man is going to be, or isn't going to be trying to set up this technocracy, right? To overtake the souls of the people with this implantation. You can get Revelation 13, uh, starting 15.
I had a quick precept.
You got it.
This is Mashal Proverbs 22 and verse 3. And it says, just laying back on your point, because ultimately the elect is going to have protect themselves in the spirit. So this is Proverbs 22 and 3. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil, in which prudent goes back into, being wise. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And ultimately the elect is in the spirit is going to be protected, you see, because the Lord has given the elect the foresight to ultimately understand what to do in these times. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And you got two types of simplicity in the world. You got the simplicity in the Lord Yahweh Shai, you see, but then you got the simplicity that goes into naivety. All right, 2/3 are essentially going to subscribe to the simplicity and naivety, to where, just by default, they're going to do that to their own detriment, because it's going to equal to destruction. You said Revelation 13?
Yeah, get get Ephesians, I think it's 5 and 15. Just to go into that point a little bit.
This is Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. I'm sorry, verse 14.
You got.
It says Ephesians 5 and 14. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Hamashayach shall give thee light.
Yep. So this word is awakening the elect, man. Right. This is a call to awaken. Right. To come out of that sleep, out of that slumber. Right. Because we were spiritually dead when we were, in this world, man. Right. But Yahweh Shai is bringing us life, man. Right, through that light, as you're reading the book of John, man. Right.
Verse 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise.
You keep going.
Okay. Redeeming the time, because the days are evil.
Right. So redeeming the time, man. Right. You move and circumspectly, being aware of your surroundings, aware of what's taking place. Right. Whether it be geopolitically, domestically, right. Even in your immediate surroundings, man. Right. The people around you, in your neighborhood, in your city, right. Pay attention to what's going on and what's being, put forth, because you don't want to be caught unawares, man. Right? You don't want to be caught out here, without that preparation in the spirit, man. And like I said, the times are evil, right? Everything that you're seeing is evils and more evils, coming upon the earth, right? The spirit is amplifying day by day, and it's all, the Lord ultimately making Himself known in the earth, man, right? Because it's gonna have to be a position of what's the word? Destitution, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about to be destroyed, right? All the comforts are about to be taken away. And it's either you're going to trust in Yahweh Shem Shai, or you're going to trust in Esau, man. And Esau is putting people in that squeeze to where, they don't think they have anywhere else to go, right? But the elect, those who believe in Yahweh Shem Shai, we know where our power lies, man.
Right. Keep going.
Read down to read 17.
Ephesians 5 and 17. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is.
Right. So understand what the will of the Lord is. The Lord's will is to allow this man, right, to begin this enterprise, man. Right. It's gonna be it's Jacob's trouble for a reason. It's the ultimate, judgment of 2/3, man. Right. So this whole system has to be allowed to reach its pinnacles, right, in order to, for him to show himself as the rod of the Lord's indignation, man. Right. He has to have this MOTB right, implemented, man. He has to have the access to, right, these various left hand spirits. He has to have the AI and things of that nature, right, out to deceive the people, right. This is all part of the will of the Lord because it's leading to the final destruction of Babylon the Great, right, in the downfall of Esau's hegemony, man. So we go get that revelation.
Con. This is Revelation chapter 13. We started at 15.
Con.
Okay. Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Yep. So we're seeing right now is that image is being given life, man, right, through its different laws and legislations, through this AI, right, it's speaking, right. They're showing forth what their true intentions are, man. You know, what's the scriptures talk about? At the last, he shall show his. Let me see if I can find this slide. Uh, if you
Come on,
had,
Sirach.
I think so.
I, I can't find it, but I can keep going there in that Revelation if you want me to.
Okay. I'm gonna look at this. Let me see. If you had anything, oh, here we go. I got it right here. It's Rock 14 and 7. If he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. Right. So his wickedness is being declared in the earth right now, man. You know, they're no longer are they really trying to hide, you know, what their real motives are. You know, because the people no longer have any power to fight against it. You know, and they're taking away these people's will to fight through things like this government shutdown, which even though it ended, right, the damage has been done. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the mindsets of the people, right, the trust in the system, right. These people are broken now, man. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
now they're going to be in the mind frame of, you know, I need to take whatever I can get, you know, whenever it's available from this devil, man, right, because they
Right,
don't know when the next the next shutdown could be.
right. And like you said, the damage of the shutdown has already, been done. I seen a video earlier, pretty much I think Trump was at like some type of game or something like that, and they was born, they was born him. He's supposed to be, the king, one of the kings, or he is the king of Babylon, pretty much, or the leader of Babylon.
Right.
So that's spreading a from the last couple of things that has happened in the country, pretty much it leads forth to a mindset of division, to where we can see Second Ezra the 15th chapter and the 16th chapter, on the horizon.
Uh, you can keep going.
Con. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Right, and that word causes goes into to make law, man. Right, and this devil is making these things mandatory. Right, we read that he framed with actually get that he framed with mischief by law
Con.
because this is what he's doing. This is going to be mandatory come soon, man. Right, it's an optional thing, you know, as you know, Apple has it implemented, but it's going to be mandatory for you to have your ID on your phone, right? And then soon come, it'll be mandatory for you to have your ID, you know, implanted inside of you, man, right? And all the AI and things of that nature, right? It's all going to be tied into this, man, right? People think these are separate entities, but it's all being rolled out so that it can be used in one consent.
This is Psalms chapter 94 and verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law?
Mm-hmm. You can look that word mischief up.
Con. And it says, I maul, H59.99, and it says toil, trouble, labor. It says toil, uh, grievance, grievousness, wearing effort. It says worry, pain, perverseness, wickedness.
Yep. hey, perverseness, wickedness, grievousness, right? He's grieving the people right now through these laws and legislation, man, right? Through all these things that they're passing in order to forward this beast infrastructure. You know, they had the Agenda 2030, right? It's 2025 right now. We're going into 2026. So they have to start to accelerate their enterprises now, man. Right? They have to start moving quicker and quicker. That's why we see it happening, you know, day in and day out. There's new news in regards to AI. It's new news in regards to the digital infrastructure being pushed. There's new news in regards to the ultimately the MOTB, man. You got what's his name, Elon Musk and Neuralink, right? You got these other countries with their own versions of the same same devices, man. Right? It's all happening, you know, rapidly, man. And ultimately, it's for the elect's sake, man. The Lord is shortening the days. He's speeding the devil up, you know, so he can ultimately get us out of here.
You want to go back to that Revelation?
Read. Yeah, keep going.
Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the charagma or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
Right. So buy or sell, right? You're cut off from the economy, right? We read where it spoke that those who would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. You know, when you read that word killed in the free dictionary, it talks about being deprived of life, right? And to be deprived of life is to be deprived of the necessary things for life, man, right? So you're going to be cut off from the things that you need to maintain a life. And that's what we're seeing take place is slowly but surely they're putting people in a position where unless you are willing to bow the knee to this system, you're not going to be able to have access to society. You're going to be, you know, a pariah, right, to the world, you know? Even like the universal basic income, man, right? They're putting people in the mind frame of, well, I might as well just take that instead of working, man. If it does come around, it'll, you know, it ultimately will, right? But instead of going to a job, people are just going to be taking that UBI. But in order to have that UBI, you have to be a part of the system, man.
I got this.
Okay.
This is that's all you want out of Revelation 13?
We'll read down to 18. But you can keep going.
So Revelation 13 and verse 18, it says, "Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is excuse me, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666."
Mm-hmm. Right. So we understand, right, that this beast infrastructure, right, this you see the 666 everywhere. You see him showing forth, right, that this is what he plans on doing, man. Right. But you have to have the eye salve to understand it, man. Right. You get Proverbs 8 and 12. It reads, "I wisdom dwell with prudence, and I found out the knowledge of witty inventions." Right. So we know what's taking place, man. Right. He thinks he's operating in the dark and behind the scenes, but the prophets are bringing light to everything, you know, that they've devised, man. Right. All their inventions, right, are being brought to light. I think it's in Luke. I want to say 2 and 12, right, where all these things are being shouted from the housetops, right, that all men may know, right, roughly paraphrasing, right, everything that they've tried to keep behind, you know, and away from public consumption, right, whether it be their own mouths falling upon themselves, right, or the prophets ultimately finding them out, right, it's all being made known.
Got this. This is Revelation chapter 14. I'm starting at verse 9, and it says, "The doom for the worshipers of the beast." So pretty much those that essentially subscribe to the system that's being set up, you know. It says, verse 9, it says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image," talking about the system, "and receive his charagma and their in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture. In which, in Revelation 13 it said in the right hand, and here it says in his hand. So it can be anywhere. It says, read back up from verse 9 the latter. It says, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his charagma in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. It says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So pretty much, those that essentially take the charagma, the RFID chip, they're gonna be burned with ICBM nuclear hellfire. That's what's referred to as the lake of fire.
That was pretty much it.
Wait, I don't want to Tazaz about Naya Apollos. What that was a beautiful edification to the spirit. Wa I don't want to Tazaz. I thought Yashka Wam to Wablu as well. Y'all have a good day. Well, we can go ahead and close it out by saying, Call Halayim La. Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rocha Hakodash. Wa double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that touch his truth and rule well. Much respect to you, bros, out there pushing his truth with all righteousness and sincere. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.